Whoa! Woo! That was far as hell.
What's going on, Exploders? Welcome back to the update on the R93 project. Now, last I left you, I had explained all the things I was gonna do and laid out all the parts I was gonna install and all my future plans for it. Well, since then I've put all those plans into action, taken the gun to the field, and learned a few things along the way. So stay tuned if you want to see what it takes to build a 200-foot plus gun.
Oh, okay.
Oh, come on.
So if you're not familiar with the start of this project, check out the previous video. I'll have the card linked up there. What I did was install a few upgrades made by King Arms first, because my system is, if it's available out there, just grab it and get it and install it and be done with it. I like making stuff, but I'm not gonna make something that already exists unless I could make it better. So first thing I did was upgrade the trigger, and I dropped in the two steel components here made by Falcon that would hold all that upgraded spring pressure back of the new cylinder. After I did that, then I moved on to the cylinder. It's pretty much a complete set. You have your spring guide, nozzle, and the exterior cylinder itself. All you have to do is take the back of the existing bolt off and attach it to the back of the new cylinder. So after completing those two parts, I had the power. The gun was shooting right around, I believe, around 550 as promised. So next was accuracy, which to a sniper rifle, that is by far the most important upgrade. For that, I decided to upgrade the hop-up, and I went with a design from KPP Airsoft. It's like a Brazilian manufacturer. It was a lot of trouble just to get that hop-up unit, and unfortunately I was not getting good results with it. It was really hard to install a barrel because of the O-ring design they use inside. It could be made so much better. Anyway, I messed with that for the longest time, and I just could not get it to shoot accurately. I couldn't get it to shoot far or get it to shoot consistently, which are the two things you need. So as much as it pained me to spend all that money and all that time, I had to unfortunately redesign the hop-up unit myself. Being the 3D printer I am, I took some measurements of that unit and of the existing King Arms unit and made it a top-down design. So it's what you see the screw sticking out here on. Together with a jig I used to measure out the center, drill a hole, and then install the hop-up unit over the barrel. And the barrel I decided to go with, first I was going to do a 6.2 wide bore, then I decided to try the Orga 6.13 wide bore, paired with the B-Hop hop-up system, which I'm still working out the kinks on. And that worked out pretty well. So again, after fine-tuning that a little bit as well, I'm able to adjust the hop-up through the top here and get really good range, right around 250 feet, and I think under right conditions I could reach 300 feet with this gun, which to me that's sort of the goal for an airsoft sniper rifle, 250 to 300. And you're seeing some videos running in the back here. That's me taking this gun out for the first time. I did have some really nice long shots. The field was not the best suited for sniping, but you'll see some good gameplay. So to adjust the hop-up, there's a screw coming in here. Inside the hop-up unit, there's two bolts that it goes through that give it friction, so it's not just trying to go into 3D printed material, which it would probably tear out. I had made a tool to adjust it as well. It sits back here where the monopod used to be, which of course, as I mentioned in the previous video, is the first thing I removed, because why do you need a monopod? And pulling this tool out, you could then spin the screw just a little bit, and this was actually a tool I made for the original hop-up, the KPP hop-up unit, because it's an Allen screw. But it works here with the Phillips opening here, and it only lets you turn a little bit of time, which is good when you're adjusting hop-up. All the turns are fractions of a turn at a time. That kind of got the function of the gun working. I had good power here, and I had good accuracy, good range. Those are the most important things before you start doing anything. Once I got it shooting well, then I could do more like visual and practical upgrades that are all necessary for my style. One thing I want to add was a sling, and there's really no good sling points on here. I don't think there's any sling points really on here. So what I did was take the existing body screws, back some of them out, and ran the screw through a QD attachment point. It's like a little cup that the quick detach sling can then attach into. So quick. So here we go. We have one on each end here. I'll remove it for now just so the gun looks cleaner. This sling was a 1-point sling that was really long and sagged the gun somewhere down to your belt area, which was way too low and could not be fine-tuned any better. So it was basically a throwaway 1-point sling that I adjusted to be a 2-point sling. Once I had a way to carry the gun, I wanted to put an optic on here. When I was testing, I had an ACOG on here, which wasn't the best option. For me, it was a two-part operation because this rail is fairly short and I need to do two things on here. I need to mount the optic and I need to mount the camera to record the sniper shots because, as everyone knows, sniper gameplay without a zoom cam is basically a waste of everyone's time. I had to make do with this rail. I'm using this Monstrum scope and I'll link some of the stuff in the description. And I took the scope rings they provide and they were both supposed to go one way. I went and reversed them to go at each other so that gave me a really small footprint here to attach to. And then just doing that, first of all, the rail is not a standard Picatinny rail with sections every 20 millimeters. It's some kind of weird mess where there's a slot here and then there's this empty dead space and there's a slot cut in here, so it wasn't very standardized. So what I had to do for several reasons was make my own adapter here, 3D printer of course. It also functions as a riser, so that gave me enough clearance to put the zoom cam underneath here. And I added a little hook on the end of it here to balance it against the body of the gun because this rail overhangs and it's flimsy aluminum, I hope, probably pot metal, and it would flex, so the scope would flex, and you don't want your scope flexing. That throws off zero. Bad. This gave me a little more stability, helped me raise the scope to clear the camera, and left the rail empty here for the camera to mount. That was my way of looking at what I'm shooting and recording what I'm shooting. Now you have to power the zoom camera. You could switch out batteries, and the BrainExploder cameras do have a quick swap battery, but who wants to deal with that in the field, especially if you're doing like a 2-day milsim? You don't want to worry about batteries. As I mentioned in the previous video, this gun has a cheek riser that is hollow and it's a giant box essentially. Of course, that means let's not waste any space, let's put a battery in there. That's exactly what I did. I searched Amazon, found the one that's almost the same dimensions. I padded the sides of it with foam, it slides in here, and from there I run a 90-degree downward turn USB cable. That goes into the body of the gun, which splits and has a metal frame here for the important stuff, and around it is this plastic frame, but there's a lot of open space in there. That allowed me to run the cable here. First, the 90-degree cable is a female-ended USB in which I connect the long, flat, which is important as well, flat micro USB cable. So that runs up through the grip in here, away from all the functioning parts. Everything works like it should, through here, and comes out of the side of the body. And again, this flat cable isn't canted at 90 degrees, so then they could plug into the camera. With the minimal space I have left here, there's really no room for air. It's just enough to run the cable, plug it into the camera, and everything is nice and clean. I really like the way this turned out. It was a lot of work. It's not designed for that, so I'm trying to cram something into somewhere where it doesn't need to go. Luckily, there's enough empty space in there, and I was able to kind of fold the cable on itself, run it out flat. I did have to cut out a couple of small sections of the body where there's not a clear opening between two sections, and I needed to make room for the cable. Real easy, just chip it out with some pliers or some cutters and break it off. Really clean. The only place you even see the cable is coming in here into the body, and then a little bit here coming out of the body into the camera. I love the solution. I can't stand when people have like a battery taped to the outside or some ugly power bank sitting somewhere. It's just so obvious. It's important to me to keep the look of the gun clean. I was able to now record, power the camera, have my scope sit in here, everything in a real compact package. This is a 4-12 times scope. I usually run it at about 6 power. It's pretty good glass, it's affordable, and I have the same scope on my Silverback SRS, and I've been using it for a couple of years. I like it a lot. So that was really the bulk of the build. I threw on a bipod here in the front. I don't use it in games. It's airsoft, and you don't get to lay behind a rock for 3 days scoping out your target. It's usually a run, crouch maybe, or lean around something, shoot. So bipod's just dead weight on the front. But it looks good in this video and helps me support the gun without me fumbling with it. Another mod I did was on the front here. First, you can see me running a adapter here to run a selfie cam. What I needed to do was cap off the front here. So I, again, of course, 3D printing, I turned to my design skills and made an adapter here that threads into the internal threads on the end of the barrel. Then it also extends and holds the barrel in place. Again, sniping, accuracy, precision, or any gun really, you don't want your inner barrel wobbling around. As this goes in, it has an opening that extends further in and cups around the barrel and stabilizes the barrel in the front, so it's always in the same place here. Now this is also a cap that comes off. It gives a nice clean finish to the front of the gun, and it has 14mm counterclockwise threads. That's going to be used when I throw on a suppressor in here, or more accurately, a tracer unit for some night sniping. On top will go a PVS-14 3x scope with a new camera recording system I'm working on, and that's going to make for some awesome nighttime gameplays. That's, I believe, if I'm not missing anything, those are all the mods I've done to this gun thus far. I do have a couple more ideas how I might change the scope and some of the layout. This works really well right now, and I think it solves a lot of my problems. Now, as far as the gun itself, I'm really liking this gun. First, I was really attracted to it the way it looked, because I think it's just a beautiful looking gun. It's so spacey, but unlike a fake space gun, it's a real gun, which again to me is important. I don't like fake guns. I don't know why. I don't have a good explanation, but I don't. It's a cool gun. The cool feature of it is a straight pull bolt. Nothing to lift up, back, down. You just grab it, yank it. I've noticed I've been shooting a lot better, definitely a lot quicker follow-ups, because I'm sitting here and all I have to do is come off, pull back, and shoot. And then here I actually have the original spring that came with the gun, which shot at 450, but with the upgraded cylinder and upgraded barrel, it's shooting right around 500, a little over. I barely qualified for the field I used it at last time, because it was just like right on that edge, 497, 503, it's just like back and forth. The gun is shooting really well right now. It could hit definitely up to 250 feet, and again, like I said, in the right conditions, I think I could reach 300 feet. I haven't been able to properly test it, as that requires a lot of range. The replica is real light. It has a really nice magazine, small, but holds 50 rounds, which if you've ever sniped, 50 rounds is a lot. I think I loaded 6 of them at the beginning of the day, and I was left with 2 of them by the time the day was over. That's kind of the wrap up of everything I've done to this gun. More things to come, more gameplay to come for sure. It's quickly becoming one of my favorites. That's it for this overview. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Consider subscribing. This is what I do on my channel. I combine 3D printing with traditional methods, innovation, a lot of creative projects that you're just not going to see anywhere else, because I'm a tinkerer just as much as I am an airsoft player. So thanks for watching, guys, and you'll see me on the next one.
Woo! I win! I knew it was those two.